Different could be right, same could be wrong. Unfamiliar just might belong. Do we fill those gaps? In a snap, reevaluation. That's the heart of this song.
Hey, welcome to Minding the Gap podcast, brought to you by Behavioral Sciences of Alabama. My name is Paul Bakke. I'm a licensed counselor with Behavioral Sciences of Alabama, and I'm with Dr. Barnhart. And we're going to talk about worry today and what to do with worry and how to maybe not stop, but redirect worry. What do you think about that, Dr. Barnhart?
I think that's a very good topic. And there was a song written, "Don't worry, be happy," but I don't think it was particularly effective as a strategy.
I don't know. It might have been. I mean, it gets you focused on being happy. Worry doesn't help you. It made me happy to hear it and to sing it.
Well, maybe that was the idea. So during the song, you feel better,
right?
And then you go back to.
But that is a typical strategy that loved ones take, where don't worry about that.
Just stop worrying.
Stop. Don't do that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. And I can't name the number of times I've heard people say, "Well, don't worry about that."
Yes. Snap out of it.
You're like, well, how do I do that? It's like, I use this example, don't think about a pink elephant right now. Don't stop thinking about that pink elephant. Don't think of, the more you try not to do something, then the more you do it. So the idea about worry is that first of all, worry is a function of survival.
Yes.
It's something is happening or something might happen that I don't want to happen. And my mind worries about it in order to stop it from happening and to solve the problem.
It seems like problem solving sometimes.
The purpose is problem solving, but it's not going to solve the problem. So It's this mental way. And last week we talked about avoidance. We talked about the hill, the discomfort. And in order to alleviate the discomfort, we sometimes worry because there's nothing else we really can do to change it. It's in the future. And so worry is this way to mentally push it around in our minds, and it doesn't go anywhere, but it's created this, this energy. A lot of people talk about when they go to sleep at night or they settle down at night, they start worrying more because they're not busy anymore. And now they're left with their thoughts, and they may be worried about something the next day or their kids or something that's important to them at the time. And worry takes this energy and you do something with it that doesn't ultimately help.
But it's addicting.
It's reinforcing.
Yes.
It's reinforcing. This idea is that we get better at it, and it doesn't help. And then people who see us worrying about it see that it doesn't help, and they say, "Well, stop that. Don't worry about that. You shouldn't be worried about that." Well, they are. So part of the issue is that you can't help but have the thoughts. You can't help to have.
Wait a minute. You mean we can't keep thoughts from occurring?
We can't stop them from happening. They just happen.
That's pretty frustrating, isn't it?
It is frustrating. And we also can't stop this immediate feeling that's uncomfortable. Can't do it.
Wired in, right.
It's wired in. So the first part of the process is to be able to recognize I'm having this thought and I'm having this feeling. The second part of the process is that helpful? What do I need to do with that?
Okay.
I have a decision to make about whether I'm going to continue down this road or I'm going to practice doing something different.
If it's not problem solving, then it's not going to problem solve. That's a specific strategy. And worry is different. And I like what you said. It's like pushing it around in your mind, which is true. like we're just pushing it around.
That's right. It's just getting pushed around. It's not really going anywhere. It's staying in there. And so we have a choice at this point, once you're aware of this happening, to first of all, decide what this is. Is this helpful?
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about the GoFar test of thoughts before in our podcast, which is the process of going, does that thought help me meet my goal? Does it help me get along with other people? Does it help me feel like I want to feel? Does it keep me alive? And is it based in objective reality? So the GoFar test is a good way of identifying if this thought is helping me, is this functional? And
Yes.
so that's the process of going, okay, I see that this is not helping me. So when you see that something isn't helping, it's maybe a little bit easier to move away from it. Then it's a matter of going through, well, what kind of thinking is helpful and meets the GoFar criteria?
Like
is there an
answering the question, how can I think about this, or what can I think that will move me in the direction that you were just talking about? Reach my goals, get along with others, feel the way I want to feel, stay alive, and be in line with reality.
Right. Yeah. And so it would be maybe thoughts like, well, continuing to focus on this isn't helping. Whether it's worrying about a test or some kind of performance issue, I can prepare for that. I can prepare, do the best I can to prepare to do the best I can. It can be, I can practice accepting if I don't do well. That's, I can think about maybe the worst thing that happened and practicing accepting that if that happens, it's okay. I use the example of my son pitching, of being able to kind of practice the thinking of, if he gives up, the winning run or something like that, it's, the world's going to keep going on. He's going to be fine. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's not preferable. But the important thing is he's working hard, he's learning things, those kinds of things. And I got a chance to actually practice that because he pitched really well in his last game. And his team didn't win,
I know. Oh my God, what a job he did. That was amazing.
Yeah. I focused on it. He did best he could. I mean, I was battled as hard as he could, I talked to my friend afterwards, who I used to play ball with when I was growing up. He said, baseball is just a cruel game. It's just cruel, and that's a thought. Baseball is cruel. Sometimes you don't win. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. The game of inches, as they say. So practicing thinking about those things that are helpful, as opposed to the worry of, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't happen. It's going to be so terrible if it does happen. What if it happens? All the things that our minds do to try to stop it from happening, that doesn't make it stop happening.
Right.
So the idea there is to be able to, we call it reframe, be able to reframe those thoughts into thoughts that meet the GoFar criteria. Right. Going backwards a little bit, we talk about relabeling.
Yes.
Okay. So we talk about identifying these series of thoughts, these thoughts that we've recognized that don't meet the GoFar criteria, and having some way to be able to identify those as not helpful.
There's a very common label that might help people to remember what you're talking about. So when we say relabel, one of the things that people often share with us is it's called the fear of missing out, or FOMO.
FOMO.
Okay. Makes a nice acronym. And when you recognize that you're doing that, you're going through that type of worry where you're afraid you're going to miss out, you just label it. FOMO. That's the fear of missing out. And now
there's FOMO.
There you go.
I realized that it's not going to help me to continue down that path of thinking. So I recognize this is not helpful, and using some kind of creative way to label it, whether it's using a book character, a villain from a movie, or some kind of acronym that helps you remember it. Sometimes, especially when it's with things that are worrisome, making it humorous is helpful, because you connecting something that's humorous or fun with something that's worrisome, and it kind of takes the power out of it a little bit. So
it's
I've
a
used
little
the
bit
example.
of a, go ahead.
I've used the example of I had a teenager who was really into Star Wars, and he called it the dark side. And so he really liked being in the world of Star. I mean, he just loved it. And so him saying, "Oh, it's just the dark side," helped him feel like, "Oh, it's Star Wars. I'm in this fantasy place that I enjoy, and I can battle against the dark side." Helped him kind of empower him and redirect his thinking, and I'm not going to let the dark side seduce me, and pull me in. So it can be personal. It's, the more personal, the better, the easier it is to remember. But the whole idea is to be able to go, I just can't stop worrying, but I can label the worry.
Yes.
I can see it for what it is, and I can move my mind over to the light side, or helpful thinking, or whatever we're going to name that.
This is like a workout.
It is.
And so it's a commitment to do it every time.
It's practice. It's conditioning.
Yes.
That's right. And
yes.
I used the example of I used a 3x5 card where I wrote helpful thoughts about going to my son's games. And I included, he's working hard. He's having a great experience. If he loses, it's okay. And I literally practiced that before games, and it really helped me enjoy the game better. It helped, because you're not going to be able to help some level of worry and wanting your outcome to be the way you want it. You're not able to, but if you've got some alternatives ready, it frees you up to get away from the worry and redirect that worry to helpful things.
And I really like this idea, not only because it works, but when you say it frees you up, that actually makes us be more intelligent. The more constrained we are with the worry, then we don't have the flexibility to see possibilities. And so when you recognize or relabel, reframe, you've opened yourself up to move in a different direction.
Right.
What direction would we go then?
Okay. Then once we've reframed, then it's a matter of practicing, and we call it redirect. Okay. So we kind of reframe ahead of time. We go, okay, relabel, these thoughts are the dark side, or FOMO, or whatever we want to call it. These thoughts are more helpful. I'm going to practice those before I get in the situation. And then redirect would be the act of, oh, there's FOMO. I'm not really missing out. I mean, I can enjoy what I'm doing right now. It's practicing catching them and redirecting them, and training your brain to, in real time, when things are happening, not when you're just practicing it beforehand.
Yes.
Actually, it's it's kind of like, that's like game time. We practice skills before a game in sports, and then game time is redirect. It's when the bullets are flying. So so this is really about, how do you change your mind?
Yes. How do you change your mind? Yes.
How do you change your mind? How do you change your mind from worry or something unhelpful that's constraining you? Like, that's a good word. If these thoughts are constraining me to, it's got to be this way, or I'm not going to be happy. Sometimes it's the bottom line. I've got it. This has got to happen, or else I'm not going to be happy, or things are going to be terrible. And that constrains you to one situation and one scenario that hasn't even happened yet. And they're spending a lot of time worrying about it.
Living in the future,
when in many cases, even with the situation that I told you about, where, my son did really well, but they ultimately didn't win. And it was, if you look at it a certain way, it was failure. But if you look at it another way, it was amazing.
It was,
it was like,
over.
so I'm now freed up. I'm not constrained with,
Yeah.
it's gotta be perfect. It's gotta be, the ball's gotta go right in somebody's glove. And I'm depending on that for my happiness. Where if it goes 2 inches outside of somebody's glove, now it's all different and it's all bad. And that's just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, that's the way, like I was saying, baseball or sports or life sometimes throws you curveballs and is cruel. So if we can adapt to whatever it is, then I'm freed up to go, what a great experience. Even in defeat, it was an amazing experience that is a life lesson. And that here's the important parts of it. And really, when it's all said and done, teammates and the support that he got, and the experience he's having, if it's all about, this has got to go this way or else I'm going to be unhappy, it's too narrow. It sets ourselves up for a lot of unhappiness.
Right.
So, and that's what worry does. Worry kind of focuses on this one thing that hadn't even happened yet. So if we can move our mind away from that, we're freer.
Yes. And so there is a way to begin to change our minds. We have, we also have the fancy word for it. It's called cognitive restructuring, which makes sense. We are restructuring things. We're kind of building a framework that allows us to go down a different path. But it's every day. This is everyday worry, which is actually a compulsion. We should probably talk about that at some point. Yeah. But I think this is, potentially a very practical approach to how to change your mind.
That's right. And it's also, we're not just changing our mind away from values that we have. We're actually accessing values that we have. And so when it comes to things like, I've got to get an A on this test. I've got to get an A on this test, or else, sometimes we're ignoring another value, that working hard and learning, that's a value too. Even learning from failure is a value. And so it's really about accessing value and not pigeonholing ourselves into one that hasn't even happened yet. So we can prepare ourselves to be able to free ourselves up to do the best we can. If we're so worried about making an A on the test, that worry may get in the way of making the A on the test. So it's doing the opposite effect. The worry is getting in the way of the performance, or the worry is getting in the way of doing well in sports. I've got to get a hit, or I've got to be successful, I've got to win, or else. And then that gets in the way of the performance. And the focus needs to be on the learning and the steps to the success instead of the end result. But we're not ignoring sometimes we ignore other values when we just go with this one. And by focusing too much on it, it eliminates the value of the steps that it takes to get there, or even the value in not achieving that. Okay, if you make a B,
tolerate
it's okay.
How can I tolerate that and go on?
Can you tolerate that, and learn from that? And or is that your life dependent on this variable and this value that sometimes you just sometimes we just don't reach. Get tripped up by a question, or two sound the same and I didn't quite understand it well enough, or the professor was we were on a different page, whatever it is. Can I move on from that? If this happens, if I don't achieve this.
Well, the steps take us in a different direction. So the last thing that you mentioned was getting to those valued activities. If we're engaging more with that type of process, that means we're going to spend more time in valued activities.
Right. Which might mean preparing if the situation was worry about a performance.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would be preparing, or it would be focusing on the valued thought. I have prepared. I've studied hard. I know the material. It's much better to put my mind on when I start to worry about not doing well on a test. I can redirect my mind back to the truth, which is I've really studied and I know the material. Or if I haven't, I need to get to work. I need to focus on studying and learning it. So because I have a choice, where am I going to move my mind,
and sometimes
into something valuable, either a thought or an activity.
Yeah. Sometimes, it doesn't always have to be work related. The valued activity might be hanging out with somebody that you like to hang out with, as opposed to just engaging in this worry process. Can you state the three steps again, so we kind of have that in our minds?
Sure. All right. So we got relabel. Where you identify a name to some set of thoughts that are not helpful, that we've already gone through. If you go through the GoFar test, going to give a name to it. Reframe. Going to start looking at alternatives that help, that meet the GoFar criteria, meet the goal, others, feelings, alive, and reality. And we're going to practice the reframing, and study it, think about it before we get into a stressful situation that might trigger us to worry. And then we're going to practice redirecting the relabel, reframe, the redirecting of the reframe, the redirecting of the negative thoughts or the unhelpful thoughts, in real time. And the way anything works is that when you practice something new, you might get it right 20% of the time, and go back to the worry 80% of the time, and then you keep practicing it, and then you get 30%, and then 50. And then the more you practice it, hopefully you go, oh golly, that's rare that I worry about that. I just caught myself doing that. I'm getting a lot better at that.
Yes.
And so it's the process of learning is really the same, and no matter what it is.
Self-reinforcing.
Yeah.
Nice. I think I'll keep working on that.
It's a good thing to keep in your mind on a regular basis, because no matter how smart you are, no matter how many times you've done it, and that's the thing that amazes me, is that we know, let's using the example of my son's baseball. I know the value of him being on a team, and I know that working hard and him playing and all those things are important. But winning and success is important too. And it's ultimately what you want. So I'm going to get pulled towards worrying about that bottom line, that performance, that what you want the most. I'm going to get pulled into that. No matter how much I know the other stuff is important. So it's a regular practice of identifying, there I go, getting pulled that into it, and recognizing, is that affecting my attitude and my ability to enjoy life in this moment? Sometimes it doesn't. So the better I get at being able to redirect that, catch it and redirect it, the more I'm going to enjoy it. But it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
It's why I have a coffee cup that's got the serenity prayer on it. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It makes total sense. Why do they put it on a coffee cup? Because we screw it up all the time. Because we go, I want to change what I can't change.
Yes.
Because it's not going the way I want. And then we go, oh, serenity prayer, can't change that. Let me focus on what I can change. I can change my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I can change my behavior.
Yes.
Change my ability to respond to things. But some things I can't change it, but I'm going to want to a lot. I'm going to get pulled that direction a lot.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because life is competitive. Life has got things that go well and don't. So we worry about it to make it work, and that doesn't help. So it's an ongoing practice of whatever it takes to catch yourself and redirect those. And we have the power to do that. And that's the great thing about our podcast, is that it's about minding the gap, that gap that stress and worry creates, and using our minds to navigate that and maybe build a bridge over it.
Yes.
It helps us get to the other side.
I like it. Is that it? Did we do it?
I think we did it. Oh, I have a joke.
Okay.
Why did the skeleton cross the road?
Why did the skeleton cross the road? I
Any
give up.
guesses? He had a bone to pick with the chicken.
Had a bone to pick with the chicken. Well, thank you very much. Is that one you heard today?
No, I heard one of my clients gave me that.
Okay.
Like I think last week, teenager. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought that's
All
great.
right.
So we're talking about, bridge, getting to the other side.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, very good. Well, that's
make that a regular part of the podcast.
Okay, the joke of the day. Everybody
Yeah.
be waiting for the joke. Like get
Oh,
through all this
get to the
crap
joke.
about
Yeah.
dealing with life, and let's get to
Fancy
the
words,
let's get to
cognitive
that joke.
restructuring. Yes. Get to the joke.
All right, well, good. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully you learned a few things. Or you may not learn anything, but but hopefully what you've learned is we got to keep working at it. We need some kind of mechanism to help us do that. And
Yeah.
the relabel, reframe, redirect is a simple way to do that. And it's effective.
Good.
So hopefully you got
practice.
something out of it. So rate, review, subscribe. We need 49 more subscribers in order to achieve some status of elite YouTuber thing. We need that. So subscribe if you can, just hit that button. And thanks a lot for joining us today.